Good morning. I'm Reb Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. Every year for the last several years, I've gone through the lessons asking Jesus for clarity, and then I write from that clarity, and that's what I'm sharing with you today. We're still on the review lessons, review 6, and we're looking at lesson 213. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. All things are lessons God would have me learn. A lesson is a miracle which God offers to me in place of thoughts I made that hurt me. What I learn of Him becomes the way I am set free. And so I choose to learn His lessons and forget my own. I am not a body, I am free, for I'm still as God created me. My life has been filled with miracle opportunities. Some I took advantage of and some I didn't, but that's okay because I get another chance always. What I don't choose to learn from comes back around so that I can choose again. There have been some lovely things happening to me and some that were painful, but I appreciate them all. One of the lessons that God would have me learn is that how I feel about things determines if I'm happy or stressed, and that how I feel is entirely up to me. How I choose to feel is not determined by what happens in my life. What happens is actually irrelevant to how I feel. Last year, I wrote about getting some windows replaced. I was doing this because there was damage to my house in Hurricane Laura, resulting from the seals getting old and leaking. At one time, I resisted the idea of owning my own home because I didn't want to deal with this kind of thing. It made me anxious just thinking about it. But now I tend to take it all in stride and let myself be guided throughout the situation to the next best step. And if I stumble, I choose again. Having chosen the peace of God as my only goal, the damage from the hurricanes became forgiveness opportunities instead of disasters. Each bump in the road was one more opportunity to become stronger in my desire to fully awaken. I could have worried there wouldn't be enough money or not finding a contractor. I could have been upset to have my house turned upside down. But deciding to worry or feel resentful or angry doesn't make sense. Since peace is my goal, choosing to feel upset is counterproductive. I simply choose happiness regardless of the circumstance. It took me a long time to realize that I had a choice about how I perceive things and thus how I feel about them. Then it took me longer to form a new habit, but it was worth it. That I could be at peace under any circumstances that would have caused anxiety in the past is a miracle worth having. I did my part by noticing when I was not at peace and asking the Holy Spirit to show me another way to see. He did his part by healing my mind. We make a good team, the Holy Spirit and me. Interestingly enough, a very similar situation is going on right now. I guess I'm getting a chance to assess what has been healed in my mind and what remains to be healed. After getting the 6 new windows, I knew I wanted to replace the rest of them, but the cost was too great for me to do them all at once. So I decided to do them in stages and use my income tax return for the next stage. But recently, I received an offer from the SBA to give me a mitigation loan. The money would have to be used to mitigate damage in case of another hurricane, and one of the possible uses was to replace the old windows. So I'm able to get them all replaced at once. The process has been slow and frustrating, so that's the good news. I know that sounds funny, right? But each step of the way has shown me what ego beliefs are still in my mind so that I can look at them with the Holy Spirit and they can be corrected. Because there were things to be done in preparation that I couldn't do myself, I had to depend on others to help me. Sometimes that help came readily, and sometimes it was disappointing. The first was an opportunity to strengthen gratitude. The second was an opportunity to release judgment. The opportunity to look at judgment again was good because I can still be tempted to judgment, and I want to be free of it. Jesus is very clear that judgment is not possible for me. I cannot know what the future will bring and how the situations will fit the overall scheme of things. How could I effectively judge on so little information? Another important lesson I've taken from these situations is that I am open to right-minded thinking and inspiration when my mind is clear. I make better decisions if I'm using my right mind, deciding with the Holy Spirit, instead of trying to decide on my own, that is, with the ego. This is a more peaceful way to live. As I accept that everything is a lesson God would have me learn, I no longer fight my life or resent the lessons it offers. I no longer think that the lessons define me. I used to think that when I faced a challenge, it meant I had done something wrong or thought something wrong and felt guilty. Now I see it as a gift. I might find it difficult or unpleasant, but I remember the purpose of these lessons. These thoughts of I like or I don't like fall away. I've had many such opportunities, and the following is one I wrote a few years ago. One day I had to prep for a colonoscopy, which is fine. I used to hate stuff like this for a lot of reasons, but I don't really care now. It's just what is happening. And even not eating all day was not a problem. The hunger coming and going, but not actually disturbing my day. I didn't have a problem until that evening when I had to take the medicine that would prepare me for the procedure. I got very intent on following the directions and doing the rest of the prep perfectly so that it's all worked well for the next day. Like with any other thinking that I focus on, it came from this whole story of forgetting something or messing up the plan in some way. I would notice how tense I was, realize what I was doing, and stop. Then I would do it again. And all this obsessing about getting it right, I failed to notice that I wasn't scheduled for this weekend, but for the next weekend. It was a comedy of errors, and I could have berated myself and felt stupid and guilty, but I didn't. It was a lesson God would have me learn. It had been a while since I fell into ego thinking to that degree that I did this time. I remember now why I don't want to do that anymore. Not only did I put myself through that whole procedure unnecessarily, but I also robbed myself of peace, which was a greater loss. Hopefully, this is a lesson finally learned, and it won't need to be repeated. What I love about it is this: I saw what I did, I recognized the lesson it provided, and rather being upset, I found the humor in it. Thank you so much for joining me today for this lesson. And if you found it helpful, then please like it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. And I'll be back with another lesson.